Let's talk about the results of yesterday's auction. Certainly, most traders say we saw yields going up.
Yes, thank you for having me on the show, Uche. Yes, we saw yields going up, and well, that is in tandem with what the secondary market is doing. And although it's a little bit surprising, the results we saw, we were expecting results to come out at the peak of 13% levels. But at this present level, the results were still very interesting. And I think that's owing to the fact that with a bid cover ratio of about 2% compared to last month's auction result, which came out at 12.93 and 12.9%, that's an increment of about 75 and 80 basis points on the issues. That makes it more interesting.
Well, Emmanuel, I mean, what could have influenced the fact that we're seeing yields going up now? Do you feel like sentiments are now changing in the market?
Well, basically, two issues have impacted on the yields going up. First and foremost, we've seen yields trend down from an all-time high of about 16.5% prior to the announcement of inclusion of the Nigerian bond to the JP Morgan index. And we saw very, very low levels at 11.94%. However, you know how the market goes. It's a function of economic function of demand and supply. We would expect that at some point there will be some profit taking, and there will be a realignment of yield and readjustment of sentiments, and that's exactly what we have seen impact on market.
And give me a better picture, Emmanuel, how you see this affecting pricing going forward.
Well, it's going to set the trend for today's trading, and consequently, with a yield of 13.68 and 13.74 and 13.5 on the reopened issues, it makes it interesting. Although market has been trading within the same levels and corridor, one would expect to see some bullish market trends, especially on the 16.39 January 2022 maturity, owing by the fact that it was heavily oversubscribed by a bid cover ratio of 2%. And with market yesterday trading at between 13.4 levels and yields coming out at 13.5, that may make it a little bit more interesting. And owing by the fact that it seems to be an issue where the foreign offshore investors have big interest on, that could influence the pricing of that very maturity.
Well, if the fact is, inflation came out yesterday also, Emmanuel. We saw inflation down slightly to 11.3% in August. What impact do you think this will have on the lull we're seeing in the market now?
Yes, it was interesting to see inflation ease to 11.3% from August figures of 11.7%. I think that is a good positive for coming from the fiscal and monetary authorities. However, one must bear in mind of the ongoing natural disaster in the country, especially affecting the food basket nations of Benue, Adamawa, Kogi, Delta State, and Edo State. Although one would expect the federal government to ameliorate the situation by ensuring that the subsidized food prices going by, we would, yes, there will be an impact, but we don't expect it to be massive. One would expect it to be minimal. Although, yes, too, we are entering the Yuletide season, but we think the government is working assiduously hard to ensure that this has minimal impact on affected states.